WebBrain has become much more configurable, which is great, but the settings page can look a little intimidating at first. In this video, I will start with the few settings almost everyone needs. Then we will gradually move into providers, memory, skills, permissions, local models, security controls, and every option inside the advanced section. You do not need to understand every setting to use WebBrain. For most people, choosing a provider and leaving the other defaults alone is a perfectly good starting point. The page is divided into 6 sections. General controls how WebBrain behaves. Providers selects the model that powers the agent. Multimodal lets you use separate models for screenshots and transcription. Memory controls persistent preferences and profile information. Skills adds specialized instructions and tools. Permissions controls which consequential browser actions WebBrain may perform. The page remembers the tab you last opened, so you may not always land on the same section. If you only want to get started, this is the important part. The provider marked active is the model WebBrain currently uses. WebBrain Cloud requires no manual provider configuration and includes a daily allowance. You can also use your own cloud API key, a model router, or a completely local model. To configure another provider, expand its card, enter the required information, click Save, and then Test Connection. Once the test succeeds, click Set Active. That is the basic setup. Everything after this is customization. Language changes WebBrain's interface language. Appearance can follow your operating system or stay in light or dark mode. Verbose mode displays full tool arguments and raw results in the conversation. It is useful for debugging, but most people should leave it off for a cleaner chat. Plan before act controls whether WebBrain creates a structured plan before operating the browser. Try planning is the default. WebBrain attempts a plan, but can continue if planning fails. Strict planning cancels the run if a valid plan cannot be produced. Off skips planning. Plan review stops is separate. The default is confidence-based review. With the threshold at 90%, plans at or above 90% run automatically. Lower confidence plans pause so you can review or change them. You can instead review every plan or never stop for review. A good general purpose setup is try planning with confidence-based review. It adds structure without interrupting you unnecessarily. Scheduled tasks allows one-time and recurring jobs to run through browser alarms. Confirm scheduled consequential actions keeps permission checks active during unattended runs, and I recommend leaving it on. Completion sound plays a short chime. Completion confetti adds the success animation and can be disabled for a quieter finish. Max agent steps limits how many tool actions WebBrain can take for one message. The default is 130. Moving the slider to infinity removes the limit, which is best reserved for complex tasks you are actively monitoring. LLM request timeout controls how long WebBrain waits for a model to begin responding. The default is 120 seconds. Large local models may need longer. Chat history opens locally saved conversations. Traces opens the debugging and model comparison view. Traces appear only after recording is enabled in advanced settings. Providers are grouped into local, cloud, and router categories. Use the filters to shorten the list or search by provider, model, field, or category. The active provider remains visible even if it does not match the selected category. Its card begins expanded. Other headers still show the provider type, category, and configured model. WebBrain supports llama.cpp, Ollama, LM Studio, Jan, VLLM, SGLang, and local AI. Server URL is the address of the local service. Model identifies the loaded or served model. LM Studio can leave it blank to use the model already loaded. Load models asks the local server for available model names. Context window is the number of tokens the model can handle. Local providers default conservatively to 16,384 tokens, and some backends can report a larger live value during model loading or connection testing. Model supports vision should be enabled only when the selected model accepts images. Prompt tier controls tool surface size, compact for small models, mid for capable local models, and full for large or frontier models. Dev mode is unavailable at compact tier. A typical cloud provider asks for an API key and model. Many also expose an API base URL and estimated input and output prices. Those prices help WebBrain estimate cost when exact usage is unavailable. They do not alter what the provider charges. Azure adds a deployment name and API version. AWS Bedrock uses region and AWS credentials. Cloudflare Workers AI also needs an account ID. After any change, remember the separate steps: save, test connection, and set active. The multimodal tab separates two supporting jobs from the main provider. Vision lets you send screenshots to a dedicated OpenAI-compatible vision model, while the active provider continues handling planning and tool calls. This is useful when your preferred reasoning model does not support images, or when a cheaper vision model is available. Enter the base URL, API key, and model, then save and test connection. Leave the fields blank to use the active provider for vision. Transcription is used by the recorder when converting audio into text. You can provide a whisper-compatible endpoint here. If it is blank, WebBrain attempts to select a compatible configured provider automatically. The Memory tab contains 3 distinct systems: Encrypted Cloud Sync, Profile Autofill, and User Memory. Encrypted Cloud Sync is available to WebBrain Cloud members. It synchronizes user memory, profile autofill, and API key provider settings. The data is encrypted in the browser before upload with a separate sync password. WebBrain cannot read the encrypted vault and cannot recover a forgotten sync password. Chat history, traces, scheduled tasks, permission records, and OAuth sign-ins are not synchronized. The normal setup is to enter the WebBrain Cloud email, request the sign-in link, and create a sync password of at least 12 characters. Advanced lets you lock the vault, change the password, turn off sync on the current device, or replace the cloud copy with this device. Replace cloud copy is a recovery operation, not a routine sync button. Profile autofill is for information the agent may reuse in forms: a name, work email, company, location, or a throwaway password for low-risk signups. When enabled, the text is appended to the system prompt and can be received by the configured LLM provider. It is stored in plain text in browser extension storage. Never place banking credentials, a primary email password, work ESESO credentials, or recovery codes here. User memory stores stable preferences that should carry across conversations. Examples include: prefer concise answers, use TypeScript for examples, or ask before publishing anything. Enable user memory controls whether saved records enter the prompt. Auto-learn after chats makes a best effort background model call after a completed turn. Learn from completed forms can contribute reusable hints without sending raw form fields to the memory extractor. Maximum memory prompt characters limits the amount injected into a conversation. Memories can be edited or forgotten, and the complete set can be exported, cleared, or imported as JSON. Memory is stored locally in plain text and is sent to the chosen provider when enabled. Obvious credential-like memories are rejected, but memory should never be used as a password manager. Skills customize what WebBrain knows how to do. A skill can add instructions to the main system prompt and can declare specialized tools through a WebBrain tools manifest. Freeskills.xyz is enabled by default. It provides tools for jobs such as reading YouTube transcripts and resolving or downloading public media. You can remove it if you do not want those tools available. You can import a skill document from an HTTP or HTTPS URL or paste raw skill text. Imported remote content is copied into local storage at import time. WebBrain does not continuously reload the source URL. Enabled skills show their source, size, and any tools they expose. Skill instructions are stored in plain text and sent to the configured provider as part of the system prompt. A manifest may declare HTTPS endpoints. Importing the skill is the decision to trust those endpoints with the inputs declared by the skill. Read-only calls do not ask on every request. Download tools still require ACT mode and the normal downloads permission gate. Only import skills from sources you understand and trust. Permissions controls consequential browser actions. Ask before consequential actions is enabled by default and is the recommended setting. When WebBrain first needs to click, type, navigate, run code, upload, download, record, or schedule work on a site, it asks whether to allow the action once, always allow that capability on the site, or deny it. Decisions are stored per capability and per website. Allowing navigation does not automatically grant typing, downloads, or every other action. Revoke removes one decision. Clear all permissions resets the complete list. Turning the master switch off disables permission prompts globally. That is faster, but WebBrain can then perform consequential actions on any site without stopping, even when the page contains hostile or misleading instructions. For normal use, leave this switch on. Disable it only temporarily in a controlled environment and turn it back on afterward. Screenshot fallback captures the page when normal DOM reading fails or returns too little information. It requires a vision-capable model and is enabled by default. Site adapters add short, handwritten guidance for known sites such as GitHub, Gmail, Stripe, and AWS. They help avoid common dead ends and add a small amount of prompt text on the first matching turn. Voice input enables the microphone button in browsers that support speech recognition. Browser-level microphone permission may still be required. The API Mutation Observer watches same tab fetch and XURLs and HTTP methods. It helps recognize repeated interface actions and suggest a direct API pattern. It does not capture request or response bodies, and the in-memory buffer disappears when the tab closes. Auto Screenshot provides a fresh visual view after the agent acts. Off never captures automatically. On navigation captures after navigation. On state change is the default. Every step captures after each action. More screenshots improve visual feedback but consume more tokens. Record Traces stores model requests, responses, tool calls, results, and screenshots in local indexed DB. It is useful for debugging and model comparison, but adds disk writes and can capture sensitive page or conversation data. The session allowance stops another paid cloud or router call once the current session reaches its reported or estimated limit. The total allowance applies across the extension. Local providers are not counted. Reset spend clears WebBrain's accumulated counter. It does not change or refund charges recorded by the provider. Strict secret handling prevents WebBrain from quoting passwords, IPI keys, tokens, and one-time codes in assistant text, even when explicitly asked. It is useful during screen sharing or when traces may be shared. Allow agent to access local network lets the fetch tool reach localhost and private addresses. Enable it for local development servers, self-hosted APIs, or intranet applications. Leave it off otherwise. Cloud metadata addresses and certain internal host names remain blocked even when it is enabled. CapSolver can optionally solve reCAPTCHA, HCAPTCHA, and Cloudflare turnstile. Enable it, enter an IPI key, save it, and use check balance. The service charges per solve, the key is stored in plaintext, and some sites prohibit automated CAPTCHA solving. WebBrain makes at most one attempt per encounter before falling back to the user. For simple everyday use, choose a provider, keep. Try planning with confidence, based review, leave the permission gate on, and keep the remaining defaults. For local models, verify the server URL, load the model list, confirm the context window, choose an appropriate prompt tier, and increase the request timeout if the model starts slowly. For advanced automation, configure scheduled task confirmation, cost allowances, traces, memory, and skills, but review the security and privacy implications before enabling each one. The main idea is simple. Providers chooses the brain, general controls its behavior, multimodal adds supporting models, memory and skills personalize it, and permissions controls how much freedom it has inside your browser. Start with the defaults, change one thing at a time, and only open the advanced controls when you have a specific reason. That is the complete WebBrain settings walkthrough.